Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a story it's ancient, it's powerful, and it's all about a king whose very name means truth. We're going to explore what happens when the one thing you stand for is put to the most brutal test imaginable.
So, just picture this for a second. You have it all, right? A magnificent kingdom, a wonderful family, and everyone looks up to you. And then, poof, you're asked to give it all away. Not for money, not for power, but for a single principle. That right there is the heart of King Harishchandra's story. And believe me, the price he was willing to pay for his integrity is just staggering.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're in the kingdom of Ayodhya, and our main character is King Harishchandra. Now, this guy wasn't your average ruler. Nope. He was like the living embodiment of an ideal. His whole identity, his entire reputation was built on one single sacred principle, Satya, truth. And when we talk about integrity for this king, we're not just talking about a nice personality trait. For him, it was everything. It was who he was. I mean, his commitment to truth was so legendary, so rock solid, that even the gods were like, wow, look at this guy. This wasn't about public relations. It was a deeply personal, sacred vow to himself. You know, every great story needs a character to shake things up, right? Well, enter sage Vishwamitra. And this guy is pretty much Harishchandra's polar opposite. You've got the king, all righteous and noble, and then you have the sage, who's known for being, let's just say, a little tempestuous. He's powerful and respected, but also incredibly demanding. And he has one thing on his mind, putting the king's famous integrity to the test.
So the scene is set. The sage rolls up to the palace, and this is no friendly visit. He's on a mission. A very specific, very daunting mission. He's heard all the stories about this king who just can't be dishonest. And he's basically thinking, yeah, we'll see about that. He's here to find out if the unbreakable can, in fact, be broken.
And here it is, the moment of truth. The sage doesn't mess around. He doesn't ask for a little gold or some land. No, he asks for everything, the entire kingdom. Can you just imagine the pin-drop silence in that court? People's jaws on the floor. This was not a reasonable request. It was a test designed to be impossible, designed to force the king to finally say no.
But he doesn't break. He doesn't even blink. Without a single moment of hesitation, Harishchandra just agrees, immediately. His throne, his crown, his palace, all of it. Gone. He hands it all over just to keep his word. In the blink of an eye, he chose his truth over all that power.
And that's a key word here, relinquished. See, this wasn't a hostile takeover. No one conquered him. He voluntarily gave it all up. He surrendered his entire world. So in his mind, it wasn't a defeat. It was a choice. A powerful, deliberate choice to prove what he stood for. But oh no, the test isn't over, not by a long shot. Just when you think it's done, the sage twists the knife. He asks for a dakshina, which is a traditional donation to sort of seal the deal. A little thank you offering of gold. The only problem? Harishchandra just gave away everything he owns. He's broke. He has no gold to give. And yet, he's bound by his word. So this man, now a pauper, promises to get the gold. And this is where things get really dark. This is the start of the family's agonizing fall from grace. The king, his queen Shaiviya, and their son Rohitashva, they just walk out of the palace with literally the clothes on their backs. And the journey they're about to take to find that gold, it's going to be absolutely brutal. The king's fall is just shockingly fast. One day he's a king, the next a homeless wanderer. The family makes their way to the city of Kashi, and to get that gold for the sage, Harishchandra does the unthinkable. I mean, truly unthinkable. He sells his own wife and son into servitude. And then he sells himself into the grimmest job you can imagine, working at a cremation ground. From a king in a palace to a servant at a graveyard. And this is what their life has become, destitute. We're not just talking about not rich anymore. We're talking about having nothing. No food, no home, no safety. Lacking the absolute basic things you need to survive. And all of this just to keep a promise. Okay, so here we are, the climax of the story, the absolute rock bottom. If you thought it couldn't get any worse, well, you were wrong. This is the moment where his principles go head to head with his heart in the most painful way you can imagine.
And then the worst happens, a parent's worst nightmare. In the middle of all this poverty and hardship, their little boy, Rohitashva, gets sick. And because they have nothing, they can't get him help, and he dies. It's just a brutal, direct consequence of the path the king chose to walk. His wife, completely shattered by grief, carries their son's body to be cremated, and she ends up at the exact place where her husband works. The irony is just gut-wrenching. She doesn't even recognize him. He's so covered in ash and misery. She has no money to pay the fee for the pyre, and the man whose job it is to collect that fee is her own husband. So here it is, the final test. His wife is there, weeping. His dead son is in her arms. And his duty, a duty he only has because he was trying to keep his first promise, says he has to charge her. And what does he do? In this moment of pure agony, he sticks to the rule. He tells her he can't do it. He will not cremate his own child without the fee. His commitment is just absolute. It overrides everything. And that's the perfect word for it, inviolable. His promise was something that simply could not be broken, could not be dishonored. Not for a kingdom, not for his family, not even for his own dead son. The personal cost just didn't matter. And right at that moment, right when he has given up literally everything for his principle, when all hope is gone, the whole story flips on its head. That last, incredibly painful act of integrity, it sets something in motion, something divine. Suddenly, the sage Vishwamitra is there, but he's not angry anymore. He's just in awe. And he reveals the whole thing, from start to finish, was a test of character. Then the gods themselves show up, and in this incredible moment of grace, they bring his son, Rohitashva, back to life. And just like that, his kingdom, his honor, everything is returned to him. But even greater than before, he passed the impossible test. So what's the big takeaway here? It's pretty clear, right? True integrity, having that core you won't betray, is the highest virtue of all. And the story shows us that even if sticking to your principles leads you through hell, that commitment is what ultimately leads to redemption and honor. And that's why this story has stuck around for so long. It's more than just a cool legend. It's a parable. It's this idea that Satya, that truth, is like a guiding light. And no matter how dark things get, and for him, they got really dark, holding on to that light is what gets you through to the other side. So that really brings it back to us, doesn't it? We live in a world that's all about compromise, about bending the rules. And this story kind of throws down a challenge. It makes you ask yourself, what's your unbreakable vow? What is the one truth, the one core principle that you would refuse to betray, no matter the cost?